All right. So welcome to another episode of What's Your Story, and who do we have here with us today?
David Hammond.
All right, and David, where you from, man?
I was born in Conway, South Carolina. I grew
Mhm.
up around the Grand Strand area. Lived a little bit in North Carolina, the upstate, but primarily around the Grand Strand
All
area.
right. I'm gonna, tell people how we have you here today. Worked together for a couple years. You're a great artist. So, I don't really know your story that well, to be honest, but I mean, I seen some of your artwork. I like what I saw, so we're gonna talk about that. Talk about how you fell in love with art. But this platform is for helping others.
Hmm.
So the first question to start this whole thing off is anything you feel comfortable sharing, anything that you've been through that you feel like you can share with others to help others get through something hard.
Mm. Um, well, I had a pretty normal childhood, but as I got older, I started experiencing a lot of dysfunction in my family. My father had a lot of problems with drugs. My mother was an alcoholic. Uh, I moved out of my house when I was 16 to live on my own. Struggled a little bit. Had some run-ins with suicide attempts, things like that. Um, and then got married when I was 20 and young. Raised a couple of kids. Got separated, and since then it's just kind of been trying to figure out how to live an adult life. You
Yeah,
know. I mean, as far as helping people, I would say what's benefited me is surrounding myself with positive people, good friends, people that you look up to, that you want to be like, people that you feel you can learn valuable lessons from, and try not to surround yourself with negative people who are, getting you caught up in their drama and their negative cycles.
yeah,
You know, I think that's a big thing that a lot of people, they don't do as much as they probably should. Um, I just slowly, once I started realizing that my life was kind of falling apart, I started trying to remove people from my life that just weren't helping me. You know.
yeah. And you aren't the first guest that mentioned suicidal thoughts and
Hmm.
things like that, or dysfunction in their family or anything. I always just love to touch on that topic because I feel like in today's world, people, you never know what anyone's going through. You know what I'm saying? People can always put on the act and be one way in public, but you never know what's really going on in private.
Sure.
So I know with what we're doing, that's the center, kind of the center of what we're doing. That's why we're so hell bent on helping others for that reason. You know what I mean? To let people know that the main thing is you're not alone. No matter how anybody portrays himself in the public, you know what I'm saying? You never know what they're going through when they're alone in their room. You don't know how they prepare to come out into the world and just act like there's nothing going on.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you always hear like the happiest people are really, or the people that's always happy are really like the saddest people. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, and I
So
think it's because people feel ashamed of showing that, like they're failing or something like that. They don't want to show their vulnerability.
yeah,
You know.
I totally agree. People do it for a number of reasons. I know one main one. A lot of people say that they feel weak or they don't want anyone to use that against them.
Hmm.
Just when they're at a certain point in their life, if they feel like they're afraid to open up, if they open up to this person, then later down the line, that person can use the information and throw it back in their face
Sure,
and
and that
stuff like
happens
that.
sometimes too.
Yeah, especially in relationships, stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I hear that a whole lot. I
Yeah,
hear
it
that a
gets it
whole
gets a
lot.
lot more complicated when you're in a relationship
Yeah,
or when you have kids involved, stuff like that.
yeah. So
I can definitely speak from experience on that.
yeah, so I appreciate you for sharing that. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people won't open up about that. So
Sure.
thank you for sharing that for
Yeah, of
sure.
course. I mean, I'm kind of flippant about it and stuff like that, but at the
Yeah,
time, it was obviously pretty traumatic, you
yeah,
know. But I mean, I just kind of try to treat it as a part of my life, you know.
yes, sir. So on to your art, man. I always see you most of the time either playing a video game or
Hmm.
you drawing or doing something.
Hmm.
So when did you find out that you had a unique talent for art? Yeah. When did you find out? Like what age?
Real young, like 3 or 4 years old, maybe even younger. I mean, like it was just something that I did nonstop.
Yeah.
And I will say, when I was younger, I had a lot of encouragement from all the adults in my life, father, mother, grandparents, all that stuff. Like they just noticed that I had an aptitude for it, and they would buy me art supplies and facilitate me being able to do that as much as possible.
Yeah.
So I did benefit from that a lot. But I mean, I can't really say exactly when I fell in love with it because I've always been in love with it. You know what I mean? It's
Gotcha.
more like it's been kind of a part of my existence since before I can even remember.
What were you drawing? Do you remember drawings you were doing at that age?
Yeah, well, I mean, I grew up in the '80s, and I was really into a lot of like Jim Henson stuff, and like fantastical movies, fiction stuff like that. So I drew a lot of mythological stuff, aliens, superheroes, stuff like that. I mean, I wasn't as much into comic books, but I still did a little bit of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Just kind of delving into like inner reality, imagination. I mean, I drew from observation and stuff sometimes, but it was mostly from whatever was in my head.
Yeah.
Video games, stuff like that.
I've always had a fascination with people that could draw because that was such a difficult thing for me. I could never draw. I could barely draw stick figures. So when I see artists, um, I'm always amazed because I don't understand, especially people that draw from memory or just imagine something and just they can get out their brain on paper.
Yeah.
I still to this day don't understand how people can do that for real. Like
Yeah.
how would you say your process is, how it works for you?
I mean, I think that people have, they have people often have different types of visualization. Like for me, I can't really picture music. Like I'm, like not very rhythmically like gifted. You know what I mean? And then I watch people read like sheet music and stuff like that, and then play the notes. And that's not something that I can really like see very easily in my head. I mean, to be fair, I've never like trained at that very much, but I think that people often have a certain way of seeing things that other people don't. It's like the same thing as like how some people say they don't really have like an inner monologue and stuff. Like I can't imagine that not being a thing, but they can't imagine having one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't know if it's a gift or what. I mean, I've definitely, like, my daughter's an artist too, and she's just like, I never pushed it on like any of my kids, like, oh, you're gonna be like me or anything like that. But she just has that thing, like she's got a compositional sense. She can see something in her mind and she can translate it onto paper, And my son has it to a certain degree, but he's not really the same that she is.
Gotcha.
So I don't know exactly like what like how it starts, like the genesis of it. It's just kind of like I see it swirl around in my mind, and then I just have to start applying like my actual will to doing it, and then it'll kind of find its way in the process.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's cool.
I mean, when I was younger, like through my teenage years, I wasn't making a concerted effort to learn like the actual science of art, like something that you'd go to art school for. You know what I mean? Like to teach you the foundations of it and stuff like that. I just had what I would say was just kind of like a natural instinct for it. But that only took me so far. And then when I turned 20 or 21 was when I really started like applying myself. I started seeing a friend of mine showed me a video of like this guy who was doing like these monster designs, and it was like for conceptual art for film. And I was like, I don't know, whatever that guy's doing that's what I want to, that's the kind of stuff I want to do. Like it was kind of like a light bulb went off, and I was like, okay, like in that moment, I immediately realized I was going to start taking it really seriously. And so then I just started actually like buying books and studying and practicing and, like trying to refine what it was that I was doing.